From the combined crew of blindandroidusers.com and accessibleandroid.com, it's time for your favorite Android podcast. Kick back now and enjoy another fine episode from these fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here's your crew. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 185 of the Blind Android Users Podcast. We're recording today, June 22, 2024. I'm Warren Carr.
I'm John Dyer.
I'm Karin Kiwan.
We sincerely welcome you to episode 185. Coming up, we do have an announcement. Then in the Android Basics, we return to Android 15 Beta 3. In the app of the week, I'll be demonstrating an app called Inure, I-N-U-R-E. And for the tip of the week, we close this episode with how to use the Listen to This Page mode found in Google Chrome. Welcome to episode 185. John, let's start with you. We'll leave the best for the lady. What's up with you?
Not much. Got my new PC this week. I guess that I say not much, but I was pretty excited to get it. It's one of the new Surface laptops. I traded my old one in, so I'm pretty happy with it so far.
Yeah, you did have a little audio sample of it, that is the microphone, on our Telegram group, and it sure sounds good. It's a good device.
Yeah, I haven't had any, well, I shouldn't say any. I've had little compatibility issues. The one thing that I could not get to install on it was Quick Share by Google, what they used to call Nearby Share.
The most important thing, though, is that your screen reader works on it, because that used to be the biggest fear with anything running ARM, right? So I'm excited to know that the screen reader works on it.
Yeah.
Saving it for the last, Karen girl, what's going on with you?
I'm doing well. Things are going well here. And finally, we are able to get some nice weather. Actually, today is really nice. The temperature had cooled down, and we are having some good times, which is great. I hope that it will continue like that. And what about you?
We're doing well. Actually, it's warming up here, unlike last week. I think today we're going to be like maybe 90 degrees or even better. So it's the opposite here for us today.
Yeah, I felt jealous because you had snow last week.
Yeah, well, that was just a little flurry, though. I mean, 38 degrees out of the blue. But anyway, it's one of those things that, occasionally would happen, but it's not too bad. It's good. And now, the announcement segment. This is a segment dedicated to things we want you to be in the know. And now for this week's episode, here's your announcements. And now we turn on to the announcements segment. And I simply wanted to say that, as you can tell, Austin is not here with us today, and Sally is not with us here today as well. Sally has some other commitment. For Austin, however, Austin is not feeling too good and in the hospital. And I would like you guys to pray for Austin. It's been kind of in and out for Austin this year for some reason, and that boy's had a lot on his plate. So when you say a prayer, say one for Austin. We're hoping for a quick recovery for him, so we'll see him back here soon. And now, the Android Basics segment. This is a segment where we discuss the things that power your device from behind the scenes. And now, here's this week's episode, Android Basics. We now move on to our next segment, and this is the Android Basics, where we salute the Android 15 Beta 3 And do we have TalkBack yet? John, this is Android 15 Beta 3 and something we've been waiting for. We thought it was going to be coming the first week or the second week of June. It didn't come out till Tuesday of this week. And so, well, it's better late than never, right? Last year was quite a we had a lot of problems last year with Android 14 beta and all of that. And I hope that this year, though, so far, nothing has happened to indicate that we would be having the same kind of problem that we had with Android 14. But I hope that it keeps on this way. And then next month may be the last one. I don't want to predict again like I did last time, and I wound up on the wrong side of things.
Yeah, but we did get TalkBack, so we're excited about that.
And the thing that kind of has been bothering me with the TalkBack, and does anyone remember if we got the final TalkBack integration into the beta? Was it the third or the fourth beta last year? I know that this year is the third. And for some reason, though, back in Android 12 and Android 13 developer previews, or at least Android 12 developer preview, we had TalkBack or Accessibility Suite 12.0 to be commensurate with the OS. And for some reason, I think it was the 14 that we started having this problem whereby we didn't have the developer preview coming on with the matching accessibility suite. John, do you remember if version 13 developer preview came with Android accessibility 13? I don't remember. I know for sure that version 12 did.
I would guess and say, yeah, I would guess and say yes, but actually it might have been for 13, not that it matters at this point, but it might have been for 13, it came with the first beta. And then for 14, it came with the third beta. And then again with 15, the third beta. Not completely sure, but that's what my memory is telling me.
I think you may be right, because it was just that 12 that came with the developer preview, and that was revolutionary. Later on, Google has made changes to where it didn't come until the beta for some reason. I don't know what's going on. Well, now let's talk about what's new in Android 15 Beta 3. And there are a lot of things that have changed. Not much has changed. In other words, no new things have been introduced besides a handful of those newer things. In other words, not a lot is going on. But this is the final platform stability. In other words, it's reached that stability, platform stability, and no new APIs are going to be introduced. And so we're looking forward to the last beta, which would be the fourth one next month. So the sequence now is like 2 developer previews and 4 betas. And that's what seems to be happening. And so maybe in August or September, before the launch of Pixel 9 series, we may have Android 15. But again, it's Google. Last year was different. The previous years, I know that Android 12 and 13 both were released in August. But last year was just something very different. So we'll see what happened. But let's talk about some of those things that are new. And like I said, not so many new things are there, just a handful of them. And some of those things are things that are hidden behind the flags. And of course, the guy, Mishal Rahman, kind of has dug into some of those things. And that guy is just absolutely wonderful. It finds these things that are upcoming. So let's talk about some of those things that we can see for now. The one thing that I'm kind of bemoaning, and even though I didn't use it, is that for some reason, and I hope this is a mistake, John and Karine, Google has removed that adaptive vibration we talked about. I thought we talked about that earlier on in one of the episodes. That has been removed from Beta 3.
Yeah, that's disappointing just to remind the listeners, that's what makes it vibrate harder on softer surfaces and lighter on harder surfaces, so that your phone doesn't go vibrating itself off a table, so you can hear it if it's sitting on a bed or something. But didn't along with this, wasn't it customizable to have different vibration patterns with for different notifications? Is that still in there, or was that also removed?
I don't know, but the whole idea is that if your phone is in a vibrate mode and you happen to be in a loud area or whatever, the vibration would intensify because of the noise that you are in, the noise that is coming through. And of course, because it utilizes the microphone. So I'm thinking it could be that maybe someone is saying, hey, this could lead to some uh, security problems or privacy problems. I don't know, but that thing got taken away. So I don't know. The next one is the color contrast setup can now be accessed from the setup. So in other words, if you're setting it up, you could change the color and all of that right away there. And the other one, though, is probably most useful to uh, people who use the fold or the tablet, because the taskbar now is a little bit different, especially the screensaver. If you have your phone on a charger, all those home controls now just show up there, so you can just manage your home controls and all of that. I like the whole idea about that, but how many times do I want to be messing with my phone while it's on the charger? Do you mess with your phone when it's on the charger? I know some people use their phone when it's on the charger, but I a lot of times don't.
I don't.
Karen, do you use your phone while it's on the charger?
Yeah, I do, to be honest.
I knew you would.
Wait, let's
Here we go.
rephrase the question. Do you use your phone on the lock screen while it's on the charger without unlocking it?
Well, why should I?
Exactly.
Why should
I don't either.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's not on the charger, why should I use it? I mean, it's not, for me at least, I don't even put notifications on lock screen. So I always unlock the phone to see notifications.
Yeah, I think this improvement is meant to like help with the, Pixel tablet trying to be a home hub. So, you can control all your things while it's charging, all your home devices without unlocking it, that sort of thing.
That's right. The other one, though, and I think this one is good. It's not yet live yet, but has to do with your biometrics. For example, sometimes your fingerprint is not working the way that it should be, or it could be maybe the face unlock is not working the way that it should be. Now, instead of having to go do that again, Google will let you know automatically, remove it and tell you it's not working and you have to do it again. I like that idea because you would now know something is wrong and it's not working right the way that it ought to be. Instead of trying to fidget with it and kind of getting all upset about it, the system will automatically remove it for you and prompt you to add your fingerprint. But what do you guys think about it? I personally think I like it.
It's good, I think. Yeah, because sometimes really the fingerprint acts weirdly enough. So it acts weird enough to the point that you feel like you want to throw the phone or something. So in this case, I think, yeah, it's good to give the people the choice. However, it should be optional. I don't know if it's optional or not. This should be optional. So it could be a toggle, and this toggle will be like, if the fingerprint is not working well or the face unlock is not working well, that it will be removed for you.
Yeah, it really depends on the implementation. If it's nice about it and it just makes a suggestion and you could say, don't tell me this again, I'm fine with how it is. Or if it just deletes your fingerprint and says re-register your fingerprint, that's not a great experience. So it really depends how, like you said, it's not live yet. So I guess we'll find out when it is, how they implement it, and hopefully they get it right so that it's not too intrusive. But I end up re-registering my fingerprints a lot, and I'm not trying to say my fingerprint changes over time because that's ridiculous, right? But my phone will work really well, and then it will just stop working as well for some reason. It's like I clean my hands, I clean my phone. Nothing else has changed, and it just doesn't work as good as it used to. And sometimes you just need to re-register. So it's good that it'll let you know.
Well, this is me also, but not now. Actually, it was with the old phone. I needed to re-register the fingerprint several times until I decided that whenever it stops working, to register the same finger again. So the three fingerprints were for one finger. At that moment, it started to work.
I've been having that problem with my Pixel 7. For some reason, the beta 2 of Android 15 made it work better. And now I got the beta 3, and now I'm back to where the fingerprint is not working the way it ought to. I'll probably reset the phone and see if it makes any difference. But it's just one of those things that keeps happening. And I don't know. That Pixel 7, for some reason, never been right.
That's something I always recommend is if you always unlock your phone with the same finger and you don't have like some advanced routine set up to do certain things when you unlock with a certain finger, then just register your same finger multiple times and there's more of a chance that it will work for you.
That's what I'll do. And continuing with what is not quite yet visible, will have to do with the fact that Android, for some reason, would tell you 7.5 is a fast charger or whatever. Now, according to Miss Hal, that will not be the case anymore because it's not going to be treating 7.5 as a fast charger. It's not going to show that message saying, oh, you're now charging with a fast charger, because this is 7.5. I mean, let's face it, it's not fast charging stuff. That text that used to be shown on that lock screen, will not be shown as a fast charger anymore.
Charging rapidly is what it would
say.
say.
Exactly.
Like, this is not rapid. This is iPhone speed.
Yeah.
Or I should say iPhone charger included in the box speed, because, or when they did include chargers in the box.
Yeah.
So it's been that way for a long time, and it's good that they're updating it. I think 20 watts is a good line, to consider that rapid.
Yeah, but it's not super fast like what Samsung says. Samsung says that, okay, super fast charging started and it's 25 watts. So
yeah, so I'm not particularly one of those that care about fast charging. If you ask me, I have a very, very slow cord here that I like. It takes it maybe hours to charge my phone, and actually I like it. I'm not, one of those that would like my phone to be charging, rapidly, of course. But when I travel overseas, I can see why one would need that. But right now, I don't need that. The next one, Google is working on a new app called Creative Assistant that could use generative AI to create custom stickers, among other things. This is something that hasn't yet come, but that guy dug that up. So I'm not into emojis or whatever stuff like that. I know people like that. I know Karen loves emojis. Sally and my other buddy Alan, you guys love emojis and all that crap. Are you looking forward to this one, Karen?
Well, I like emojis, but I don't care to have a lot of customization regarding emojis. Well, I just care to have them in my keyboard and to type them and nothing more. So everything else is not something that makes me interested about it.
Yeah, same here. I do use them a lot, but I don't want to just generate them on the fly, and especially, as a blind user, like, I'm just gonna have to trust that it gets it right. I don't have any visual confirmation that it did what I actually wanted it to do. So, yeah, I'm more excited about, I love how you can almost say any emoji with voice dictation in on Pixel devices because that uses assistant typing. I'd be more excited if they would just bring that assistant typing to anybody using Gboard, instead of keeping it reserved for Pixels, because that's a feature I would use all the time. You can say certain emojis in the regular Gboard voice dictation on Samsung phones, but it's very limited what you could actually say.
That is really interesting. I didn't know that you could actually speak emojis and get those things inputted. Now, I'm learning that for the first time. Well, that tells you how much I use emojis. I'm not an emoji user, so it's really nice to know that one could actually use their voice to create emojis or tell it to write out emojis. Very interesting.
You should try it next time you're doing assistant typing on your Pixel phone, because it's crazy how much just try to think of anything that might be an emoji. Like you could say pizza emoji, hamburger emoji, if you're feeling hungry. And it will actually put them in as emojis. Like it can do a lot, and I really love it.
I love the one I'm feeling hungry. Oh my gosh, that would be beautiful. Yeah, so I'm going to try that. It's really nice. The next one is the one that I actually like. So Android 15 Beta 3 has added the show long app name toggle. So in other words, you know how it is that when you install an app, sometimes they have additional name to the app and you don't see that because it's truncated. Now you can toggle that to the on or off. And if you like your app names, shown the way that they are, you could now do that. And I think that's a good one.
I think this might just be a visual thing though, because I'm pretty sure TalkBack reads the entire name, even if it's not shown completely on the home screen.
Yeah, we'll check and see what happens. Another thing that has happened is that some things are going to be changed in the settings, like some rearrangement. I sometimes wonder why Google doesn't leave the system settings the way that people know it. We're familiar with that thing, but they keep changing it. Now, kudos to Samsung for leaving things the way they are, never changing it much. I mean, they change now and then, but they're more consistent when it comes to leaving things the way they are within the system settings. Google is changing that, and I think one of those that are now active is that the notification has been renamed to something else. I don't remember what it is, but something reply and whatever. It's just kind of a little bit different. I don't know.
Yeah, doesn't Google realize that they're breaking all of our tutorials we've already recorded?
Exactly.
When we went through
Exactly.
the series of the pixel settings, like now that's going to be all out of order, and people are going to be like, what are these fools talking about? That's not in the settings.
Isn't that something though? Because it kind of falsifies what we're saying or have said. I never thought of that, but that is very true. With all of that going on, a lot of the stuff that we've done now is kind of obsolete.
It's just change for the sake of change.
Yeah. Google never seems to leave that thing alone. Every time you can count on it, bet on it that they're going to make some changes in there, the grouping things and all of that. But it's something we need to get used to. So that thing is a device and app notification. Now it's like notification, read, reply, and control. Oh my goodness. So we'll have to get used to those kind of changes and then call it good. And some of the things also changes slightly in the camera area and all of that in this version of Android. And like I said, a lot of them are not even active yet, but these are things we are looking forward to.
Well, I read that. I think that I read that there is now something related to the turning of the screen. So when it detects that the phone is in the pocket, and it's in the pocket for a certain time, it shortens the time to turn off the screen. So it detects that, or it assumes that your phone is left turned on unintentionally. So it just shortens the time for you. I mean, if it's like, for example, if it's set to 10 minutes, the time to turn off the screen, so it shortens the time, let's say for 5 minutes, if it detects that it's in the pocket or something. So did you hear about this one?
Like, for example, let's say you forgot to turn off your phone or shut off the screen and you put it in your pocket. It will notice that and it will help you turn off the screen. So I think this is a very good idea, because the whole idea is that regardless of what you set your time to shut off the screen at, if you have something that is in front of it, then it will shut off the screen so that it saves you time. In other words, if you're looking at the screen and if you're not looking at it, but then you just simply put it away and there's an object in front of it, it'll help you shut off the screen. I like that.
And this will most likely not be coming to a Samsung phone near you, because as far as I know, they don't use proximity sensors anymore. They depend on like you actually touching the screen. Like if you're in a phone call, like the screen turns off when your face touches the screen of the phone. It's not an actual proximity sensor. So, unless you put your phone in your pocket, with the screen facing you and you have very thin pockets, I don't think it's going to register that as a touch, unless Samsung figures out another way to do it, because, they do have some in-pocket detection settings that I'm not sure how well they work or not, but they do have them there. So they might figure out a workaround for it.
Yeah, but the virtual proximity sensor never works as intended, at least for me. So I think it will be the same with the pocket detection thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, at least though they do have that one in there where you can, especially, you want to make sure that it's not turning on in your purse or in your pocket. Samsung has that. I always enable that so it's not, turning on me for some reason. I just want to make sure that my phone is not turning on. But this one though that Google is doing, I wish Samsung would also adapt that. That would be nice. But I'm almost positive they might do that, because Samsung is good at doing stuff. And yet, in the same breath, a lot of times there are some glaring things that they just simply ignore and said, forget that.
Yeah, they might try to do it, but it won't work as well, because they physically don't have the sensor. So they might be able to, like the way they do it now might have something to do with like the accelerometer. Like they know if your phone is like in a pocket, if it's like moving a certain way, like they might have algorithms like that they can help determine if your phone is in a pocket, but it literally cannot see with the proximity sensor. I mean, they might also use the front facing camera, but then would that drain battery? I don't know. So they might figure out a way, but it won't work as good as having an actual proximity sensor.
So, having said all these things, now I think the big one, or the one that concerns us the most, especially those of us who are blind, has to deal with TalkBack. And John, I was saying, hey, do we have a TalkBack 15 yet? And indeed, we do have it, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And unfortunately, there's not too much new in it that I've found. I mean, the big deal, right, is that it now works with HID braille displays over Bluetooth, which that's been a major complaint in the past. So, although I don't have a braille display to test it, they claim it's here. Have you tried it yet? Does it work for you?
Well, I don't have one that didn't work. My friend was going to bring me one to test it, but he kind of got busy doing something else, so he didn't bring it. So I cannot attest to it as to whether it works or not, but I'll take their word that it works with those HID devices now, finally.
And other than that, they've one thing I noticed is the read from next item gesture is now read from current items. So instead of just skipping to the next thing to start the reading, it will actually read the current item in focus, which I kind of prefer it this way. And Warren, didn't you notice something else related to this that you think has been an issue for a while that they've fixed?
Yeah, so I do want to, add to what you just said about that read from here or read from current. That is so nice because if I stop reading at a particular line or move to a particular paragraph, and then of course I triple tap with two fingers, it starts reading from there. I really like that feature. It's something we've been wanting for a while instead of the read from next uh, instance or whatever. I didn't like that too well, but now this one has really become a game changer as far as I'm concerned. Now, the other thing that they fixed that I'm happy about, you're reading something and you simply wanted to pause, or a phone call comes through, or someone needs your attention, and you pause that reading and you hit that resume. Well, the whole idea is that if I resume something, if I'm playing music and I hit a pause and I hit resume, it's not going to just play a few bars and just stop. That's what it used to be with TalkBack. And now with this one, it just continues. And indeed, that's something that I'm so happy that we finally have gotten to work. And kudos to the developers. Guys, I would like
Yes.
to get you a beer.
Yeah, so it knows whether or not you're currently using continuous reading or not. So if you're just reading a long thing and you want to pause it, a long item, and you pause it and unpause it, it will continue that item and stop because you are not using continuous reading. So it behaves differently whether you're using continuous reading or not, which I think is great.
It is brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. And like I said, your beer is on me.
Another thing I wanted to mention, it seems like a small thing, but I'm going to use this a lot. There's a new gesture in the Braille keyboard so there was already a gesture to go to the end of the field or go to the beginning of the field, but now if you do that same gesture but with two fingers instead of one finger, so if you hold either dots 2 and 3 or dots 5 and 6 and swipe down with one finger, that would take you to the end of the field, and if you swiped up, it would take you to the beginning of the field. But now, if you do that same swipe with two fingers instead, it will highlight all of the text between your current cursor point and the end of the field or the beginning of the field. And so if you just want to delete all the text from a certain point, that makes it a lot easier to do that.
That's really nice and brilliant because it makes editing easier than what it used to be.
Yeah, the funny thing is I don't think there's even a way to do that in not using the Braille keyboard.
No. Well, it would be if the Gboard editing feature were opened to TalkBack users, because this is one of the things that I've always cried about. Open up that editing feature of the Gboard to us so we could take advantage of that, where you could use your cursor keys to select things. I don't know why we don't have TalkBack support for that. Is one of those oddities.
I also noticed two differences in the verbosity settings. One relating to punctuation. You can now choose between all, most, or some. I think before it was either some or all. So now you have a setting called most, which will read, it seems to read things like parentheses, quotation marks, colons, but it won't also read, periods, apostrophes, exclamation mark, question mark, that type of thing. So, the things that you might want to know about, like quotation marks and parentheses, you can now have that information available to you if you want it.
And that was something you were crying about. Was it maybe last week, John, or was it the week before? You had cried about this. And I'm glad to see that we now have that, because that really makes sense if you want to know what's going on, most especially if it's like a coded speech or, some quotation. And so you have those punctuations in there. It's good to know that for review, most especially students. I think this will be a very good feature.
Yeah, but it still needs improvement. First of all, there is none option as far as I heard. So this is the first point. It should be some, none, all, and most. The second thing is that it is lacking the ability to let you customize. I mean, which punctuation should be considered as from the sum, or which one should be considered as from the all? I think if they implement this will be something really great and advanced as well.
Yeah, that would be better. So do you know which punctuation is considered punctuation what punctuation is read when it is set to sum? Because I don't think I can't remember it even reading punctuation ever. Could be mistaken.
Wasn't there a feature or option called read punctuation? It was checkbox. Read punctuation. Wasn't that the
there was read
implementation before?
punctuation. Yeah. Now, I think that some of these things probably, and I'm looking at it from the Windows side of things. For example, now if I were reading something and I had set my punctuations to some, I don't recall. I haven't used that feature in a while. I don't remember, like John says, which ones are read and which ones are not read either.
What I think has happened is, I agree with you, there should be a none option, but what I think has happened is, so if you had that checkbox not checked to read punctuation, how it would behave is now how it behaves when it's set to sum. So it rarely ever, I think it might say, like, if there's multiple punctuation marks, it might say it. Like, it would say 3 period if somebody had 3 periods in a row, but it would not. I think that's the only case it would ever read some. So if you had that checkbox unchecked, now it will probably just be set to sum and it will behave the same. But yeah, it would be nice to also have an option to never say any punctuation. They reworded something, and I'm not sure if it actually behaves differently, but instead of talking about lists, it talks about lists and grid information. So if you want list and grid information read, that's one setting. And I don't know, I haven't had much time with it, but maybe it does a better job of telling you you're moving between rows and columns and that sort of thing.
To be honest, I didn't play with that much either. I didn't even dig into the TalkBack settings, to be honest with you. So I'll have to look into that myself. Up next is the App of the Week segment. This is a segment dedicated to app demonstrations. Should you have an app that you would like to demonstrate for our listeners, feel free to send us the recording of such an app demo to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. And now for this week's episode, here's your App of the Week. We now turn on to the next segment, and this is the App of the Week. This week we're talking about Inure or Inure, I-N-U-R-E. And here's the demonstration of Inure. Hi, for episode 185 App of the Week, this is demonstrating an app called Inure or Inure, I-N-U-R-E. Inure or Inure is an app manager, and I really like it. It does have an unlocker that if you want additional features or the pro features, it will set you back by $7.49. I have purchased the unlocker, and that's how much I like it, because this will actually show you what apps are tracking you. You could go into an app info and look at what it does to you. I'll show you all of that once we get started. I'm demonstrating this on an older phone in the way of my Pixel 4 running Android 13 and TalkBack 14.x. Before we get started, however, let's go ahead and hear what the description of the app is so you can determine as to whether or not this warrants your time. I'll now tap on the About and we'll listen to the description of the app from the developer right here from the Play Store.
About this app, heading. Google Play Store. Anur App Manager Trial Details.
I'll now put my finger down and let's hear what the description says.
An elegant and intuitive apps manager for all rooted and non-rooted devices. Anur is a powerful open-source applications manager and analyzer with a good-looking and easy-to-use interface. This app can be used to manage all apps installed in the device. In addition to that, Anur App Manager allows you to access all the core components of the app including services, activities, etc. and modify them on the go. All that combined with a gorgeous and pleasing interface, with every tap accompanied by fluid animations. Features. Organized list of all apps. Usage stats of all apps. Create notes for specific apps. Terminal emulator with commands manager. Sensors information. Scan for trackers in any app. Inbuilt device information panel. App information panel. Uninstall, disable, force close user, system app with and without root. Dedicated apps component viewer and editor. Grant or deny permissions for any app. Block apps trackers. Root and Shizuku API support. Get information about any app, even uninstalled ones. Extra capabilities. Audio player. Preview any TTF format font. Image viewer. Inbuilt text viewer and editor. Markdown viewer. HTML support. Pretty code highlight support for some programming languages. XML pretty printing and highlighting. SVG viewer support. UI features. Full screen with status and navigation bar. Beautiful unique interface. Smooth animations for every element of the app. Interconnected interface by icons and shared animations. Universal accent color picker. Ability to change font style of the app. Rounded corner support. Pleasing colored shadows for every layer of the app. Glowing app icons effect. Unique switch style. Native theme engine to support all dark and light modes. Mold, slate, gray and high contrast dark modes. Trial. The full version of Anur App Manager is available to try for 15 days. All the features of the app will continue to work except a few of the trial features will be disabled after the period has ended. You can unlock the full version by purchasing the Anur Unlocker. https://play.google.com/store/apps/details. It equals app. Simple. Anur Unlocker.
And that's the description of the app. I'll now go back to the home screen.
Home.
I am on the home screen and will navigate my way to the icon of Anur and let's get started. I'll now tap on the icon.
Anur.
I'll tap.
Verifying license.
I tapped on there and we heard verifying license. Let's start from the top and walk our way down.
Setup.
At the very top left, we heard setup. Basically what this is just a header telling us of what we will be coming across below here. Moving on, here's what we got.
This app does not collect any user data.
Moving on.
Before moving ahead, it is recommended to perform the necessary actions to make sure all the features of the app work.
Okay, moving on.
Mandatory.
And here are some of the things that are mandatory.
Usage access permission. Not granted. Click to allow. This app uses package_usage_stats permission to fetch and calculate the various app usage data available in the device.
I'll come back to this, but let's look at the other things below here.
Grant storage access permission.
Okay, next.
Granted.
Next.
Storage emulated 0.
Moving on.
Storage permission is required and used to perform various app actions such as sharing app, making backup files or associate with files available in external storage. Optional.
And now we come across the optional. Here's what we got.
App typeface. Change applications font style English glyphs only.
Next.
Accent colors. Secondary color that appears along with various elements of the app such as icons or touch effects.
I don't care about colors. Next.
Root.
Now we come to the root permissions.
Root mode.
We have the root mode.
Use root methods instead of using native Android APIs and libs to perform some functions. This option is recommended as it can make the user experience more streamlined. Rooted device is required.
And you need a rooted device in order to take advantage of that. Next.
Shizuku.
And now we come across Shizuku. You probably have heard of Shizuku. It's an app that allows you to do things that natively you probably wouldn't be able to do with your Android, and it gives you access to some features of the OS. Moving on.
Shizuku mode.
Next.
Use Shizuku API instead of using native Android APIs and libs to perform some functions. This option is recommended for non-root users. Shizuku access is required. Don't show again.
If you don't want it to show this again, you check that check mark and then to the right.
Start app now.
And now I'll go back to the first one that I talked about that talks about permissions and make sure we enable that.
Usage access permission. Not granted. Click to allow. This app.
We need to tap here.
Apps with usage access. Navigate up. Button. Permit usage access. Off. Switch.
And here you'll just tap enable, and then we're good to go.
On. Usage access allows an app to track what other apps you're using and how often, as well as your carrier, language.
Now, let's go back. And now I'll scroll down to the very bottom. At the bottom, we come across.
Start app now.
We got Start App Now. I'll tap.
Start app now.
Put my finger down.
Anur App Manager. Row 1. In grid, 14 rows, 3 columns.
Now, if you don't have a license, it will give you 15 days of trial. We are now in the main UI of the app, and there are columns and rows. So there are like 3 items on each row. And here's what we got. Starting from the top left,
Apps. Row 3, column 1.
we have apps to the right of it.
Terminal. Column 2.
To the right of that,
Usage statistics. Column 3.
the next column, starting from the left,
Tags. Row 6, column 1.
right.
Terminal commands. Column 2.
Now, this one only has 2 items on that row. So next column,
Recently installed. Row 8, column 1.
going right,
Recently updated. Column 2.
right.
Most used. Column 3.
Next column,
Uninstalled. Row 9, column 1.
next,
Disabled. Column 2.
next.
FOSS. Column 3.
And the last single item at the bottom,
APKs. Row 11, column 1.
APKs, those are APKs that you've extracted, will be found in this folder. Let's go back to apps though, because that's probably the most important one. I'll now move back to the top and tap on the first one that says apps.
Apps. Row 3.
And I'll tap.
Anur. Apps. 631 apps. Name.
There we are. I am now in the list of apps, and I could just scroll down through these apps and all of that. Let's go find one. I'm going to scroll down at random and find something and pick on it and just see what it
Audify.
says.
Audi Vision Beta. Com. Quark. Audiolab. Com. Hitrolab. Audio Editor. User 71.
Here's Audio Lab, something very familiar to a lot of us. Why not look at this one? I'll tap.
Audiolab. Out of list.
Upon tapping on Audio Labs, here are the items that we find. I'm starting from the top.
Selected. User 71.9 megabytes. Enabled audio. Split packages 24 trackers.
We are told it has 24 trackers. I have no clue. Let's go down.
Add a new tag, button, in list.
Next.
App information, out of list.
Next.
Usage statistics.
Next.
Notes.
Notes.
Fold app info menu, button. Detected. Icon,
Next.
down. Menu layout, button.
Next.
Permissions, row 1, column 1, in grid, 5 rows, 3 columns.
Next.
Activities, column 2. Services, column 3. Certificate, row 2, column 1.
In other words, if you tab here on certificate, you'll see when it was issued and when it will expire. Next.
Resources, column 2. Receivers, column 3. Providers, row 3, column 1. Manifest, column 2. Uses features, column 3. Graphics, row 4, column 1. Extras, column 2. Shared libs, column 3. Dex classes, row 5, column. Trackers, column 2.
Here we find the trackers. We'll check to see if the app is tracking anyone. We still have another column below, so let's finish that first.
Fold app info actions, button, out of grid. Menu layout, button. Fold app info missed, button. Menu layout, button. Extract, column 1, in grid, 1 row, 3 columns.
In other words, if you want to extract the APK of this app, you tap on that one. The last item,
Play Store, column 2.
tapping on that, of course, takes you to the Play Store. Let's move on back to the tracker and see what it says about the tracker.
Trackers, column 2.
Here's trackers, and I'll tap.
Selected, trackers, out of grid. Showing items 1 to 6 of 24.
Putting my finger near the top.
Selected, total 24.
So it says a total of 24. Let's move on down and see what these are.
Trackers search BTN, button. Detected. Icon, search. Image.
Next.
App11 full screen activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com. App11. AdView. App11 full screen activity. Activity analytics, profiling, identification, advertisement, in list.
Next.
Max Creative Debugger activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com. App11.
Next.
Max Creative Debugger displayed ad activity. App11 Max and full screen ad service. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com.
Next.
Max Debugger activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com.
Next.
Applo. Max Debugger add unit detail activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com.
Next.
Applo. Max Debugger add unit waterfalls list activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com.
Next.
Applo. Max Debugger add units list activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com.
Next.
Applo. Max Debugger CM Networks list activity. App11 Max and Spark
Next.
Labs, com. Max Debugger detail activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs,
Next.
com. Max Debugger multi-add activity. App11 Max and Spark
Next.
Labs, com. Max Debugger TCF consent statuses list activity. App11 Max and Spark
Next.
Labs. Max Debugger TCF info list activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com.
Next.
Max Debugger TCF string activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com.
Next.
Max Debugger test live network activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com.
Next.
Max Debugger test mode network activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs.
Next.
Max Debugger unified flow activity. App11 Max and Spark Labs, com.
Well, I could go on and finish the rest of them, but you got the drift. Well, that would be the conclusion of demonstrating Inure or Inure, I-N-U-R-E. I love the app, and I hope you like it too. Thanks for listening. And that's the demonstration of Inure. I hope you find it something that you will be using. I like it. Up next is the tip of the week. This is when we show you a trick or two on how to use a certain feature on your phone or within a given app. And now for this week's episode, here's your tip of the week. And now to close this week's episode is a tip of the week. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, is the Listen to This Page feature found in Google Chrome. Here's that tip of the week. Hi, for episode 185 tip of the week, this is demonstrating Listen to This Page. I am talking about a Chrome feature that makes it possible for you to listen to a page. Indeed, one could use the reading mode or one could use the assistant, but Google has also added a feature directly within Chrome called Listen to This Page. Prior till now, this was something that you could enable using the Chrome flags. However, now this is available and it's not something that comes via an update of the Google Chrome nor some Play Store component update. This is something that comes via server side. For example, I can see it on my Pixel 4 that I'm demonstrating this on, and yet in the same breath, it's not available on my Pixel 8 Pro running Android 15 Beta 3. I am on my home screen and I'll navigate to the Google Discovery page, something I refer to as the Google Feed page. And then I'll pick one of the articles and demonstrate what I'm talking about. I'll now navigate to the Discovery page by swiping from left to right with 2 fingers since I'm already on home screen 1.
Home. Button. Anthropic releases Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Performs better. 8 hours ago. Android Authority. Heading.
So here I am with an article from Android Authority about Anthropic and Claude 3.5. I'll tap on this button to open up this article.
Chrome. 0%. Progress bar. 0%.
I am now on that page, and here are the steps, as I posted on our email list a few days ago, how you go about reading the page aloud using the feature I just mentioned. The first step is to tap on the Customize Google Chrome control found on the top right corner of the phone. I'll now tap on that.
Customize and control Google Chrome button.
Let's go ahead and tap here.
Pop-up window. Forward button disabled in list.
Now we have a pop-up menu, and nestled between the Translate and Add to Home screen is the item called Listen to This Page. I'll now move my finger down to that and tap on it.
Listen to this page.
I'll go ahead and tap.
Chrome.
Anthropic
Customize and
Claude 3.5 Sonnet claims it outperforms GPT-4o and Gemini 1.5 Pro. Published by Android
Ringer
Authority.
vibrate.
Claude can't rival ChatGPT's popularity. but
I'm
it's
going to
putting up
double
a
tap
strong
with 2
fight.
fingers to stop.
Anthropic AI has announced Claude 3.5.
Now, when I discovered this earlier this week, or was it over the weekend, last weekend, is that if you're listening to a page, for example, and you shut off your screen or navigate away from Chrome, the reading stops. However, I have noticed that today, for some reason, when I shut off the screen, it will continue to read. I'm going to resume that reading by double tapping, or at the bottom, you'll find the play button. I'll be getting to that here in a little bit. But first, I'm just going to double tap with 2 fingers to resume playback and then shut off the screen.
5. Its next generation large language model family. The mid-tier Claude 3.5 Sonnet model is available for free today, with larger and smaller variants expected later this year. According to Anthropic's figures, the new model beats GPT-4o.
Now, there are some features here that I want to show you before I bring this tip to a close. At the very bottom of the screen, though, we've got 2 buttons. We've got the play at the bottom left and then the close on the bottom right. Now, you can further customize this to your own liking. In other words, you can customize what voice you want to hear, and I'll now demonstrate how you get to those features. What we need to do is at the bottom, nestled in between that play on the bottom left and the close player on the bottom right, is the title of the article that we're listening to. What you need to do is double tap and slide it over to the left and that should pop up some controls. Here's what I'm talking about. I'll now double tap and slide it over to the left.
Anthropic releases Claude 3.5 Sonnet, claims it outperforms.
Now I'm going to double tap and slide it over.
Listen to this page, player. Swipe down to close.
I double tap and slided my finger to the left, and now it brings up some controls. And here's what we got, like toward the middle of the phone, toward the bottom, we got, starting from the left, we've got,
Go back 10 seconds, button.
we have go back 10 seconds, and moving to the right,
Play, button.
there's a play button, moving to the right,
Fast forward 10 seconds, button.
and fast forward. Those are the three buttons. Now, flanking those, below that are two buttons, one to the extreme right and one to the extreme left. On the extreme left, we have the speed control.
1x increase, decrease speed.
You could tap there to change the speed that you would like to listen to the page at. And then to the right, on the right edge, so directly across from that one on the left, is the more options. And that's the one you go into to make the other changes, like choosing a voice and all of that. Here's what I'm talking about.
More options, button.
Here's more options, and I'll tap.
Options menu. Swipe down to close.
You hear swipe down to close. In other words, if you want to close this panel, that is, whether it's the play panel or these options where we're looking at, you can just swipe down with two fingers and that should close that panel. So here's what we got in the options.
Back, button. Voice, expand.
We come across voice and it says expand. I'll tap here to expand this area.
Voice menu. Swipe down to close.
Moving on.
Back, button. Checked. English, United States, Ruby, mid-pitch, warm.
So the one that we're listening to by default when I started reading that article is called Ruby. And to the right of Ruby is the play button, and that's found on every single one of those voices that we have here below. So moving my finger to the right.
Play Ruby, button.
And move my finger down.
Not checked. River, mid-pitch, calm.
Here's River. Maybe it's our friend Riva from Minnesota. Here's how that river sounds.
Play River, button. In
Here are the
progress.
voices you can pick for reading out your web pages. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just tap the voice name.
Play River.
Move on next.
Not checked. Field, low pitch, bright.
Let's try field.
Play Field, button.
Here are the
Pause
voices you
field.
can pick for reading out your web pages. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just tap the voice name.
There, El Macho. Next.
Not checked. Moss, low pitch, peaceful.
Let's check this one out, see what it sounds like.
Play Moss, button. In
Here are the voices you can pick for reading out your web pages. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just tap the voice name.
Play Moss.
I think I like that voice, although it sounds a little sad, if you know what I mean. Moving on.
Not checked. English, United Kingdom, cloud, mid-pitch, soothing.
We come to the UK voices, and to the right of this one is,
Play Cloud, button.
let's sample that cloud.
Here are the
Pause
voices you can pick for reading out your web pages. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just tap the voice name.
Play Cloud.
Next.
Not checked. Dale, low pitch, calm.
Remember, this is still under UK. Let's sample the play.
Play Dale, button.
Here are the voices you can pick for reading out your web pages. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just tap the voice name.
Play Dale.
I believe that those are the only two voices currently for the UK English. Below that, though, we come across the Indian English, and here's what we got.
Not checked. English, India, lake, mid-pitch, calm.
Let's sample it.
Play lake button.
Here are the voices you can pick for reading out your web pages. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just tap the voice name.
Play lake.
Next.
Not checked. Air, low pitch, breezy.
Let's sample the play.
Play air button.
Here are the voices you can pick for reading out your web pages. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just tap the voice name.
Play air.
Next, we get to the Australian English. Now move on down.
Not checked. English Australia coast, mid-pitch, calm.
And we're on the first one called the coast. To the right of it, of course, the play button.
Play coast button.
Here are the voices you can pick for reading out your web pages. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just tap the voice name.
Play coast.
And the next one, which is the last one.
Not checked. Choral, low pitch, serene.
Here's the choral voice.
Play choral button.
Here are the voices you can pick for reading out your web pages. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just tap the voice name.
Play choral.
And that's the last one there. And as you can see, the Australian, Indian, and the UK voices only have 2 voices each. And now the last option here, that is in the menu, in the more options.
Checked. Highlight text and auto scroll.
In other words, if you do have some site and you want to see the words that are being read, you could leave this one turned on. It's turned on by default, so it's highlighting the lines as it reads out loud. And that would conclude this little demonstration on the Listen to This page. Thanks for listening. And that has been the tip of the week for this week. John or Karian, do you have anything to say about the Listen to This page mode?
Sure. Yeah, great demo. I just wanted to also add something to it, though, that if you, obviously this doesn't work on all pages, but if you are on a page that it does work, you can customize within Chrome settings what they call the toolbar shortcut. And I think by default, this is a add new tab button. And if you want to change that button to something else, you can by customizing the settings. And now one of the options you have is to make that button the listen button. And then you won't even have to open up the Chrome more options menu to get to it. It'll just be right there at the top of the screen.
You are right. That's something I, for some reason, spaced out, but it is there. So if you do that, then next time you want to read something, you don't have to go through the menu. Thanks for observing that, John. That's really helpful.
Well, I have also something to say regarding this one, which is that the voices that they are using are different than the assistant voices, which is not a thing that I liked. In fact, for example, the UK voice that actually I use UK voices, and the UK voices that are used here are, well, worse. I should say that they are worse than the assistant read aloud feature. And you know that people who are using Gemini as the default assistant can't use the read aloud feature in the assistant. So unfortunately, if we're talking about that, as a replacement, the voices are not better, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, well, there are not a lot of voices. I like the UK voice, though, the female voice. I don't know why, but I like that voice. It's kind of like soothing, if you will. I like that voice. So if I were a UK user, probably that would be my default.
No, but it's not better than the male voice of the assistant, for example. The male voice of the assistant is something special, which is the same voice that the assistant uses anyway. So it's something really different.
Yeah, I've always liked the Daniel voice from the UK English. And if I were using the UK English, probably I'll be using Daniel. I really like that voice. All good things must end. Thus, it's curtain drawing time, bringing us to the close of this week's episode. Coming up, though, we give you information on how to get hold of us. Well, with that, we come to the end of this week's episode, and we do want to thank you for listening. And as always, here's Austin to give you information on how to get hold of us. Austin?
To contact us, you can send an email to contactus@blindandroidusers.com. You can join our mailing list by sending an email to Blind Android Users plus subscribe at groups.io. You can join our Telegram, Facebook, Discord, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The links for everything will be at the bottom of the show notes and also in the video description of the YouTube channel. And also the links are in the websites panel of the YouTube channels.
And we come to the end of this week's episode. And from me, it's goodbye, and we'll see you next week, God willing.
Have a great week, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. Until we see you next week, don't forget to leave us your comments and suggestions via our email contact or using any of our social media sites. Have a great week.